On November 18, 2010, a historical event took place. After many years of sitting in the Senate Foreign Relations Committee, the Convention on the Elimination of All Forms of Discrimination Against Women finally had its day. The Senate Subcommittee on Human Rights and the Law had a hearing called Women's Rights or Human Rights, U.S. Ratification of CEDAW. The hearing room was standing only and an overflow room had to be opened. Over 250 people attended, the largest ever subcommittee hearing, according to Senator Durbin's staff, the chair of the committee. What many of us have fought for is finally coming to fruition. The evidence can be clearly seen in this hearing that we will be viewing today. Before we begin the hearing, I'd like to give you a short brief overview of CEDAW. CEDAW is a United Nations treaty that protects women's human rights and has had a tumultuous history with the United States, but has currently not been ratified here. So what is CEDAW? CEDAW is a United Nations treaty that is the most complete international basic human rights agreement for women. It has also been denoted as the blueprint to help countries determine what they should be doing to help women's human rights. The points that it addresses are to stop violence against women, promote education for girls, improve health care, ensure legal rights for women, and improve women's lives at work. CEDAW has had a tumultuous history with the United States. It was not a treaty at first. It was just a declaration that the United Nations and its members should respect women's human rights. But persistent injustices and discrimination experienced by women around the world led the UN Commission on the Status of Women in 1974 to call for a comprehensive and single treaty to protect women's human rights. CEDAW was adopted by the General Assembly on December 17th of 1979, according to the UN CEDAW Committee website. On September 3rd of 1981, the convention entered into force, faster than any previous human rights treaty. Our president at the time, Jimmy Carter, signed it on July 17th of 1980. But because of the way the United States government works, CEDAW does not apply here. After the treaty has been signed, it must be passed through the Senate with a 2/3 majority. But because it has never been voted on by the full Senate, because due to being stuck in the Senate Foreign Relations Committee and other priorities being put before it. Instead, a number of states have passed resolutions in support of CEDAW. Iowa and Massachusetts were first, and in North Carolina, our House of Representatives passed it in 1999. But none of this is legally binding. Previous presidents tried to encourage the ratification of the treaty, but they were unsuccessful. At the 1995 Beijing World Conference on Women, the U.S. committed to ratification by 2000. What year is it now?
2011.
Exactly. Over a decade later, we still have not ratified it. Even though senators called for hearings on CEDAW, it was stopped from reaching the Senate floor by former Senator Jesse Helms. He was the chairman of the Foreign Relations Committee and was not a proponent of the United Nations. He blocked many treaties from even being discussed. In 2002, the presidential administration of George W. Bush declared CEDAW generally desirable and said that it should be ratified, but they did not force the Senate to talk about it. In July 2002, the Senate Foreign Relations Committee's new chair, Joseph Biden, our vice president, approved the treaty 12-7. It died before it reached the Senate floor due to other legislation being prioritized before it. CEDAW has currently not been ratified here in the United States. Thus far, 186 nations out of 193 have ratified CEDAW. That leaves 7 nations that have not. Out of those, the United States is the only industrialized democracy. The current president, Barack Obama, has moved to strengthen White House support for the treaty. On March 11th of 2009, he created the White House Council for Women and Girls. Its mission is to provide a coordinated federal response to the challenges confronted by women and girls and to ensure the White House agencies monitor their programs to make sure that they protect women and girls' rights. The U.S. State Department has also voiced its support of CEDAW. To quote the State Department, "We are committed to U.S. ratification of the convention and look forward to joining the countries that have adopted it as a central part of their efforts to ensure that human rights are enjoyed fully and equally by all people." Recent polls by CEDAW 2011, a nonprofit group, also show that the American public is in favor of ratifying CEDAW. After hearing a description, 89% said they were in favor. 2/3 of that group even said they found it very favorable, and when asked if the Senate should ratify the treaty, 93% supported it. So CEDAW is a treaty that can help women all around the world. From the drafting of CEDAW in the past to Obama's current support, we will now watch as the future of CEDAW unfolds. We have all worked tirelessly to get to this point. So this afternoon we will be watching as history pays off. Yay!